What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Hollywood Already Did It, your weekly movie podcast for things that have been rebooted, remade, sequelized, and are otherwise not the first in their franchise. And whether or not we need to keep retelling and retreading these stories over and over and over and over and over again. As always, I am your host, Blake Schultz, and with me is Terrence Tatum.
Hello, everyone.
And speaking of treads, this week we are talking about a movie that still has it on its tires as it burns its way to the top of the box office. It's Fast and the Furious, F9. All fun
Fast
car
saga.
fun. Oh, we're not the egregious numbering of this franchise.
The stuff they do with these, the stuff that they do with these is ridiculous. Like Fast 5, F7, Fate of the Furious. Like, guys, there's no right or what are you doing?
How dare you call it the Fate of the Furious and not make the ATE a number 8?
Yeah.
The audacity. If we're going to be insane and not care how we number these, give me some old video game nonsense where we just fit the number in. If it's your fourth movie and there's an A in the title, I want that A to be a number 4.
Yeah.
Transformers should have been called Trans Number 4mers. I don't know why this is hard for marketing teams to figure out. People want dumb titles. But here we are at F9, the ninth time that Dominic Toretto has been called out of retirement to leave his new family to go rebuild the family that he's built and leave his safe house for his home back in New York. Coronas, family, espionage, fast cars, and faster physics. What did you think of F9, Terrence?
So I'm a fan of this series as a whole. They're fun, they're stupid, you cut your brain off and you enjoy it. And as I've gone along with this from forever ago with that first one, which is it's funny, this is a Point Break remake that has become whatever. It is
better than the Point Break remake.
100%. And Fast 5 is when everything sort of turned and the series became something completely different. I adore Fast 5. Like, it is a fantastic film. And I really like 6 with Luke Shaw. I mean, with Luke Hobbs. And then we get to 7 when we have Jason Statham at it. And it's just fun. This series is now getting to the point, though, that it is getting so ridiculous and so over the top that stakes don't matter anymore. At least when 5 first happened, there were some stakes. You're like, oh crap, this is the first time we're doing this. I don't know quite what's happening. And then in set 6, I believe, was the when we lose Giselle, Gal Gadot. And then from that, we kind of just like, all right, cool. All of these folks now are superheroes. Everybody. Doesn't matter if they weren't just a hacker or whatnot. They can all fight hand-to-hand combat, and they're all like superhero folks. We will bounce people off of the hoods of cars because that's what physics do now. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's what we're accepting. So if you go in getting that and you're like, all right, this is fun. Fine, I'm going to have a good time in it. And this film does still bring in some laughs and some joy, and you still have those moments. But this is also a film that I'm like, are there any stakes at all? Like, Han's back for reasons that they explain stuff to me in the film. I still say bullshit.
No, they don't.
Yeah, I still
Mr.
say
Nobody's so good at making it look real.
Yeah, I'm like, nope, I don't buy that. Sorry, that's incorrect.
Popularity revived Han. That's
literally what happened. Back. Yeah, that is literally what happened. And so when you start doing that with the series, where it's like, oh, none of this truly matters. And so for me, the biggest thing with this is the premise of this film is that he has a brother that we never knew about. For a person whose entire thesis is based on family, how we have never once heard of this brother from either he or Mia in the entire series. But then we get in this particular movie and everybody knows him. Cypher's like, oh, your brother? Cool. Know that dude. And I'm like, wait a minute. You can't
Everybody
do this.
But the audience was aware of John Cena.
You can't do this. And that's a pet peeve
of
both of ours.
That apparently is like an Assassin's Creed bloodline. And
it just creates hulking men.
Theron is here to tell us now that there's Nordic blood in the Toretto line.
It's insanity. And so one of my pet peeves of any franchise or any movie, Saw does it a lot too, is retconning and retroactively putting in history. And I hate it. And so for this movie to do it in droves, like the whole has like about 45 minutes of just footage of that. And I was like, nope, I don't want any of that. And we won't even get into the space stuff because
we're gonna get into the space stuff. We're gonna get so much into the space stuff. But I want to start at the beginning, where the movie has come back to its roots. Its sepia tone roots is what I, of course, mean by its roots. The Instagram filter that you know and love from the first Fast and the Furious movie is back with a force.
Yeah.
In 1989.
You get the old school Universal logo.
Picking an actor that it looks like we just dipped John Cena in brown paint. And for a minute, I was like, oh, are we doing like brown face? And it's, oh no, this is supposed to be their dad who just has to now look like he's got to look a little bit like both of them.
Yeah.
And therefore be incredibly ambiguous in his ethnicity, which I have no qualms with. But for a good few minutes, I was like, it's almost a credit to the casting. Because for a moment, I just was like, oh no, this is an unfortunate decision we've made for John Cena.
How did we get here? Because Vin is very brown and John is not.
No, Charlie Theron explained genetics to us. Nordic. Every now and then, you just pop out a Caucasian.
There's 100% going to be a mom that comes into the series as we go along.
Now we have that
mayhem.
question.
Yeah.
We've never asked before. Where's the mom?
Yep.
We then proceed to do this Talladega Nights-esque racetrack where we learn that he's got a grudge with another racer and that everyone loves Dom and hates
like
the little
Jacob.
Brother.
Like, Jacob, you are hot trash.
I mean, it is as if the franchise was like his dad and would rather have erased him from existence than acknowledge him. This is a son that is only good to tell about your debts to the mob.
Right. In
hopes that they'll kill him instead, I guess.
Yeah, you can do away with the offspring I don't care about. That's fine.
We then discovered that the reason they've broken up is Dom has gone to prison for whatever reason. He gets out, learns the trick about cars, blames the son for his dad's death. We're going to do all of these spoilers, so just saddle up.
And it's a retroactive add-on because in the first one we do learn, I mean, he is in prison for beating a man with a wrench. So this is literally the story of what that is now.
Yeah, so the first one came out in what, 1999, 2000?
2001-ish.
We're to assume that this happened 10 years before the movie came out.
Right.
So that's when the racetrack was, which means he was in prison for however long he was in prison for.
Yeah, 2001 for the first one.
Then then like the Lion King, gave his brother the ultimatum of either like accepting what he did or being banished to the Simone and Pumbaa land forever.
Keep driving.
In this scenario, Dominic Toretto is Scar. And but so is John Cena because we think he killed Sim.
Yeah.
Everyone is Scar in this version.
There's
of
so
the
many
movie.
Scars. Yeah.
So he has now banished him. And then I guess he just drove down to Fast and the Furious 1.
Yeah.
While his brother became a super spy. Ironically, John Cena plays a super spy in the hit television show Psych on the USA Network, and I have decided that Psych is now part of the Fast
It's
and
canon.
Furious
I mean,
franchise.
hell, throw everything in here. It's all canon.
It makes a lot of sense to me. I think that's the crossover we should be going for instead of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Clearly.
The movie then has its real opening in Dominic Toretto's Iron Man Endgame type house that I guess he's been given by Mr. Nobody, where his son has been trained if a car drives to hide in a bunker.
Do they kind of get mail out there? Like, does the mailman not deliver stuff there?
I imagine he has a P.O. box in town when he needs to go get grains and parts for his car. He cruises in. I bet, like Triple X, he knows everybody there.
That's true.
He's everybody's best friend, and he gets his mail, and he comes back.
Yeah. The kid hides in the bunker, just like hide away. And then Tej and them roll up. And like, we got some stuff going on. And they have to tell the kid, like, kid, it's safe. You can come on out. No one's going to murder you.
Dominic Toretto, who doesn't recognize the cars that his family drives. They then abscond to an Indiana Jones type scenario where we do the biggest stunts, and we never do these again. He deliberately drives his car onto a stake to rope it around the axle and swing around a mountain after his brother is picked up by a magnetic jet, and the rest of the team drives up a bridge that's falling down like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Mind you, directly after they all drove over mines.
The mine stuff, I will say, I bought. I
Mines
bought
is, yeah,
that
it's
you
still
could calculate.
still relatively believable as you can be. But this unbelievability of like using the hook under your tire well on the passenger side to swing from one side of the mountain to another happens 30 minutes into the movie. So anything that happens after this is like, oh, okay, I guess. I mean, sure.
And then we're back to like normal for this movie.
Nothing's that big ever again.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then probably my biggest, I actually really did enjoy the movie for all of my, look how silly it is.
It's just insane.
It is insane. But what I really miss is like the actual, like getting the heist together. The best part of Fast Five is the like, well, we need a mechanic and we need a this. And now we just are like off to the races right away. Everyone knows their roles.
People just show up. Like we don't have to collect anybody. Like Mia just comes, and then Han just sort of like comes into the fold. When I was like, oh well, then there's no sort of going to collect these people, which is a part of the fun a lot of times for this series. Like let's go see where these people are doing in their current state.
We pick up Han, who's been working with Mr. Nobody in Tokyo, getting half of the sci-fi ball that's going to basically turn off the Matrix. Anything that works in ones and zeros.
Yeah, that we all know isn't going to amount to much, because the way that these last few films have gone past that, like 8, 7, 8, 9, there's been a person that has been the antagonist. Something's going to happen, and then that antagonist is then going to be on their side. So we know that at the end of the day, Jacob is eventually going to be on the team with Dom. We're just like all sitting here like, let's just hurry up and get there.
Look, I don't know who they're going to introduce in 10 or 11, but Charlize Theron will be on that team.
100%. Like it's going to have to be somebody worse than her that she's like, I got to join with you guys.
And I know what you're saying. How could we ever forgive her for killing the mother of his child? Well, we forgave Jason Statham pretty quickly for trying to murder everyone.
It's always, that's the thing. I was like, it's weird because people was like, oh, he tried to murder Hobbs, or like, why is Hobbs working with him? I was like, Hobbs doesn't care that much about Han, and neither should Owen. You guys should be more of the fact that he did actually, especially now that Han's back, like, oh, we can forgive him. He still murdered Giselle. Like Giselle is there's a reason his family is still responsible for her death. So you should still be sort of pissed off with these folks. But he seems to be very buddy with their mother, so maybe not. It's like, your Mama Shaw is so fun. So let's go hang out with her for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm very confused on the dynamic of everybody's relationship now. But that's fine. I'm sure The Rock will be back. We'll get another Hobbs and Shaw. Who knows?
Yeah, but we go into space.
And as somebody who was not just dying for them to go to space, but living for them to go to space, as soon as Paul Walker said cars don't fly, I said, I need that car to fly. Give it to me immediately.
I want it.
But as our friend of the show, Ajus Gallego, said when we walked out of the theater, this should have been played more like the Matrix Revolutions, where we fly up and we see the sky and we fall back down.
Yeah.
I was not expecting us to hobble together a jet propulsion Mario Kart type booster pack that no one believed would work, from characters that I hope you remember from Tokyo Drift, because I didn't, and then jettison them into space where they have a very casual conversation about dying for a purpose. They're then able to push this car into a satellite. We're in space for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, like they go into space. They have an entire meme where they're
dressed like Marty McFly and Back to the Future one
Minions,
when he's Darth Vader.
Yeah, but they
the Minions joke.
It's terrible. But they have a moment where they go into space and they're preluding up to that while there's a major action sequence happening on Earth, and then they go in, and then we don't pay attention to them for the entire 25-minute action sequence that happens on the ground. that whole sequence happens and then ends like it's finality to that point, and they're like, oh shit, there are still characters in space. We should probably check in with them. And then they have this little button at the end. I was like, oh,
They're able
it
to
feels like the script
communicate.
writer was just like, hey, those guys are still up there. We need to get them back.
Oh, Terrence, they know what this audience wants. We wanted them to go to space, and they did. We wanted them to do jokes in space, and they did.
And they did.
We wanted them to come together as a family, and they did. We
Yeah.
are now playing with magnets, which I loved, but we are now in Man of Steel level destruction.
Like, yeah. I mean, at the end of this, he tells Jacob that he has to go on the run. I was like, Dom, you should be on the run too, because you've murdered and destroyed everything.
Yeah. We're just very casually say this. All it took for John Cena to switch sides was his buddy being like, maybe I'll kill you.
Maybe I'll kill you.
A scene that Dominic Toretto is unaware of.
Yeah. Mia sees it, and then all of a sudden Dom drives up and he's like, I think he's fighting my brother now. I guess I should save him. But no one said anything on the communication system, so we'll see.
Oh no. Dominic Toretto is a forgiving, wonderful man.
Except for the people that are trying to kill him in a tunnel where he snaps everyone's neck with a chain.
Yeah, but that was awesome. That's what I want, Terrence. I don't need him flying on Spider-Man webs to make his car work. I want to see him killing some people with chains.
Breaking people's spines is what I need. It's crazy though, because when we went to a full packed audience, and I tell you folks, people eat this shit up. Like, and I'm one of them, but this audience was ramped.
This was our first real tentpole movie post the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were on like some end game level cheering shit with this movie. It was crazy.
It was nuts. Like, folks knew Han was coming back because all the trailers ruined it, and they still partied like a goddamn rock star when he popped up on screen twice. He got 2 pops. One just a photo of him on a goddamn screen. I was like, this is nuts.
Oh yeah, people love that character.
Yeah,
he's back. People don't care why he's back.
It doesn't matter.
I kind of accept it. You know, I've suspended my disbelief. I'll buy that Kurt Russell is out there making moves.
Yeah.
And is just like, he's real good at his job. Now we got to keep you dead. But for a man who's meant to be undercover and has apparently told everybody that Tokyo is his Mexico, and that he hangs a Mexican flag up as if signaling Vin Diesel and everybody
like a
else.
bat signal. Yeah, come here, please.
It's like he wanted to be found. But we then kind of hit a lot of regular tropes. Oh, the last key is the person. It's not a key. It's the DNA. And Charlize Theron is out there villaining it up. And then she's in her drone and not really there. The dialogue in this movie was the roughest part.
It's rough. Yeah, there's some moments where she's trying to get the one up on the main, quote unquote, the main villain, and there's a whole Star Wars back and forth that they have. You're like, what is this? Like, how did we get here? It's insane. It's insane.
We're still figuring out places to put Brian without ever having to see him.
Okay, so I'm 50-50 on it, because I'm at some point, if you keep doing this, you're going to have to eventually put him or a CGI version of him on screen. You can't keep getting away with this all the time. So the movie ends with them having their dinner sequence. And they're like, hey, there's an empty table, and you get to see the blue car that Brian is known for drive up. But for a person they're basically using Brian as a glorified off-screen babysitter for the kids that they've created and that the kids have now. I'm like, all right, cool. But when you get your kid back, Dom, either one thing should happen. The other kids that they have should be there too, or you just need to have Brian there. You can't keep getting away with this. We dropped off one kid, but Brian is still over here with the other ones, and Mia's there, which for reasons.
You know, it doesn't bother me. It's a little corny, but I'm like, let's keep the spirit alive.
Keep it going as long as you can.
Such a big.
Well, that's why I say
part
the other
of the
half
franchise.
Of it is. That's why I say when the other half of it is, because when I do see that blue car pull up, a part of me is like, oh, Brian is still around.
It's nicer because it answers the questions, right? Somebody's got to watch this kid.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to keep watching this kid. It gives you a lot of off-screen stuff to play with. It keeps his spirit alive.
It does.
It keeps that connection there. But I don't know that I need to see the blue car every time. Candidly, I want to see the green car from the first Fast and
The
the
OG
Furious.
one. Yeah.
That's what I was like, come on, have him come up in the green car. Let's really get back there.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. But these movies are now, I think we're starting to see the line, at least for some of the audience, of where the action gets too unrealistic. But when you really dig into like why these are successful, it's such a simple answer of, well, they're about family.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you look at a comparison like Transformers. People are like, well, why doesn't Transformers connect this way? And it's like, well, whether or not it works for you, and obviously Transformers has a giant audience,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't really have that heart and soul as much. And when they try to with Optimus Prime, it's kind of lacking in the other connection. He sort of just gives his like X-Men monologue at the end that he always does, and
Yeah,
we
I
move
mean,
on.
it's typically for Prime, it's typically the voice, the presence, and the pontificating that he always does, but you really can't connect to that after a while. You're like, there's nothing there for me to actually grab a hold of. Whereas with and because they're animatronic too, they're CGI characters, it's hard to get some of the humanity behind it. But I think with the Fast series, especially since you've seen these guys since they were basically kids at this point, like they're 20 some years, you've grown up with them, but there also some sort of human connection that you've had with them from one to the other. I also think it helps that this does look like a Peloton ad. Like you have a little bit of a representation of everybody in there. You have Black, you have Asian, you have Hispanic, you have male, female, you have. We're going to keep pretending that Michelle Rodriguez is attracted to Dom, sure, but we know that spectrum wise, she's all over the place. So like you have a little bit of representation for everyone. So I think that's why a lot of people have someone that they can sort of gravitate to, even more so than probably until recently the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which was pretty much all straight white dudes. This one has always sort of been like you can kind of pick your flavor, and you have somebody that you can sort of relate to. And I think that's why this has gravitated to so many people in so many countries around the world. They're like, hey, there's somebody, at least one person in this film that I feel I can connect to or represents with who I am as a person, which is, I think, why this is sort of transcended the small film that it once was to the massive franchise that it is now.
Well, I think they also kept finding ways to evolve this idea of family. And it started with just, well, it's who's around, and then what will they do, and then the sacrifice and the literal family. And now you challenge that by making the literal family the villain and in theory, the linchpin of why your real family died.
It reminds
And
me a lot of how soap opera, like people refer to wrestling. I have a wrestling shirt on, but refer to wrestling as a male soap opera. Fast and the Furious is basically a car soap opera that has gone on. And usually, like every now and then, I got to check back in to see what the hell. Like, yeah, they're still doing the same thing that they've always done, but I like that. So it gives me that comfort where I know what I'm getting. I'm having fun when I'm here doing it with these folks. So let me just get in and see what the hell is happening right now.
no, I think that's a good point, that we do keep finding enough ways to play with this and check in on what we're doing. And even if they're wacky, finding new things to do with it. We haven't really repeated anything yet, which is very impressive.
Yeah.
Aside from the repetition of the villain is now on our team,
Right.
uh, from Hobbs to Shaw to everybody is just joining,
Mama
joining,
Shaw, like
joining.
everybody. Yeah.
Um, which eventually you need that. Which I guess why Charlize Theron's going to be the villain for the rest of these, probably,
Yeah.
unless we have sisters we don't know about or
It's like
cousins.
or Jacob's mom or
Or
Dom's mom.
kids that are
Yeah,
18 that Dom
right.
didn't know
Like
about.
another child that we retcon in.
Oh, there's not really that much time to explore anymore. Uh, which begs the question, what is left to explore? I mean, what do you do now? Bring in his mom, or are we now just like, it's now just the fight for Charlie's Theron?
Yeah, it's like it's Cypher just the final boss that for next two films we're gonna bring folks in. I mean, like this button, there's a post-credit button here with Han and Owen with Jason Statham, which is like, oh yeah, they would still have some beef with each other. So I
But
wonder how
everybody
that
else forgave him.
right. Everyone else is fine with it. You saved a baby on a plane. Owen, so it's fine. We're all good here.
Did we know who was in the punching bag, or is that just a
I
new?
think that's
That's
just a
just who he's
new,
beating
yeah,
up.
it's just somebody he's having fun with and wrecking shop on. But
Because
yeah,
I don't even really remember the end of Hobbs and Shaw. They just go their separate ways, right? They're
I
not like
believe
we're
so.
buddies.
There's the Ryan Reynolds button for that they have.
Oh yeah.
But that's yeah, I mean that's a whole
Oh
thing.
my God. Ryan Reynolds is supposed to be in
Yeah.
these movies.
That's what's funny. You think about this, like at any point in time, because of the world they built with Hobbs and Shaw, Ryan Reynolds and Kevin Hart could just randomly show up in Fast and the Furious. Like, yeah, that's all canon.
I mean, they're just becoming the Expendables, which like everyone's talking about this Jurassic Park crossover. And I'm like, there are better franchises.
I said there's
the
more stuff. Yeah,
Expendables.
yeah. You can do better than that. But it's funny. I don't know what we do next. It's obviously going to be bigger. I'm glad that Justin Lin seems to have a better grasp of this series probably than anybody else. I don't
I
really
hope
like
so.
the F. Gary Gray one did as well. Juan had the luxury or pain of trying to work the one when Paul passed. So and that was fine. But I think Justin Lin sort of has done the recreation of the series, the completely off left with the Tokyo Drift thing. He's had the most time with at bats with these. So for him to finish off seems to be make the most sense. What he does, I don't know. I don't know how you've been in ice with submarines. You've gone to space already. Like I don't know. I feel like bigger may not necessarily be the thing. You might want to tell it back and bring it down a little bit and like do an actual around the world race, because these are still racers, and it feels like the racing aspect of it or the driving aspect.
Oh,
of
we
it
haven't gone on a race
a
in a
lot
while.
less. Yeah, like we got a flashback race in here, which was cool. I was like, oh, that's right. They did used to do this. I remember what this entire franchise was.
I would love that. I would
But I
love
think if you do like a
race.
Monaco, like around the world type of race, that would be pretty dope. Like if you had to save someone, like you got to win all of these races or win this race to get so and so back.
Terrence, what you're pitching is the canceled Fox show Drive.
I want it. Let's do it.
Are you familiar with Drive?
I am not familiar with Drive.
Oh man, so Drive, while I pull up the cast list that will stun you, was a show that 20th Century Fox put on television in the mid thousands.
Okay.
And the premise was that a mystery force had assembled a team, criminals, heroes, suburban moms, to drive across the country for seemingly their own rat race type will bet on anything enjoyment. And from there, where is it? Come on. It was called Drive, right? I'm not going crazy. And from there, it was a mystery of who's done this to them. Why is it happening?
Nathan Fillion was on that show?
Nathan Fillion. What's her name from Terminator?
Wow.
It was
Taryn Manning.
Bonkers.
Emma Stone was on that show? What is happening?
Oh yeah, Terrence, this show in 2007, like peak Fox making and canceling shows left and right.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that's when they were cutting.
This was the same era as the Lying reality show.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. You take a lie detector test.
Yeah, I know exactly which one, because a lot of people's relationships got jacked up because of that show.
Great. What a great show. Oh no, what you are pitching, and I think you're right, is the pilot of Drive. We now need to assemble the family. They need to go in across the country, world-renowned race to do something.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Gotta figure out who's doing it and why.
Oh wow, I had never heard. This sounds phenomenal. Yeah, illegal cross-country race. Yeah, that's what I want. I want that.
The moment of truth. That was the reality show.
That was the live show.
Ah, yeah. Yes. Oh, what a great era of Fox.
That was a great time.
Yeah, Drive was like the same year. They really did. It was in that period when Family Guy was canceled. And I think in like season 4 of Family Guy, where they're like, well, you know, if all they just list the House Bunny, Andy Richter controls the universe, Drive, the fucking Ocean spin-off show, all these failed pilots. But I was into Drive. Drive was awesome.
Wow.
And they kept they'd have these stop-offs, and at each stop-off, somebody would be like, hey, I'm the one who bet on you. So you got to kill them, or I'm gonna like up the stakes, and like you'll never see your family, or you'll go to prison, whatever dumb. Like one of these characters was like a suburban mob who was driving her minivan. Oh my god, it was awesome.
Yeah, this is what that's what I want. I want that as a film. Yeah, I had not heard of this, but this sounds like glorious, glorious thing. I would just love for it to get back to racing. Like as we're tailing off and getting to these last couple of films, let's sort of get back to what we were, because you took a hard turn with 5, which is great. Let's take a hard turn again and sort of put a little bit more juice back into the series.
Yeah, I think that's what's next for me. I mean, Charlize Theron is still out there. I wouldn't even mind it if the next one is just like we got to go get her, and then like 11, you wrap it up with a classic race. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Terrence, Drive season 1 is on Amazon Prime Video.
Oh
wait,
really?
no, you can buy it. You don't want to buy it. You want to stream it for free.
I just want to watch
for
it.
For a minute, I was like, oh my God.
Know what I'm doing tonight.
Oh God, that's exactly what needs to happen to the franchise next. What a no, I think you're right. I think we've gotten as big as the action's gonna get. I think we've made the threats as big as they're gonna get. Unless you, because did we resolve where Mr. Nobody is at the end of this movie?
But here's the thing with Mr. Nobody, and this is where this gets weird, because and I missed them way more than I thought it was going to, but because you take both Hobbs and Shaw off the board for this, you then are having a bunch of regular civilians do these CIA agents as opposed to somebody actually being within law. So it feels like a lot of the testosterone or masculinity or just bravado that both Jason Statham and Dwayne Johnson have is missing. And so it then just feels weird, kind of just like, Vin, you're the toughest person here, and the rest of these people I don't think would hold a candle in the water versus like high-end mercenaries or high-end folks like this.
Well, that's the other interesting part is now like the action really comes from Vin Diesel, and everybody else is like comedic.
Yeah, like they gave a moment to have Michelle and Jordana Brewster fight, and Michelle is fine because we've seen Letty fight before with the Ronda Rousey stuff. Like we've seen her do this before, but we've never really seen Mia fight. And this when we start getting her hand-to-hand combating, I'm like, oh, hold on, wait a minute, this is weird. And then Tej and Roman usually end up fighting for laughs. It's usually a comedic bit that they have. But Dom then is the only one who's actually like, I feel you are a genuine action star. So when you take both the other two, Hobbs and Shaw, off the board, that's two bona fide action stars who can do whatever. When you take them both off, that's why I was like, that button at the end saying that, yo, Shaw is going to come back around, sort of gets me more interested in what's happening next. It gives me another, at least, fighter on the board.
Man, I completely forgot about Ryan Reynolds. These movies, they're great. They're just great. It's open to 70 million.
It's a big
one
number.
of, if not the biggest openings since the pandemic has ended.
Biggest pandemic number, yeah.
So we're back 4,179 theaters, which is the second highest opening theater-wise next to Hobbs and Shaw, which was in 4,253 theaters.
Oh, wow.
Of course, if you go down, Furious 7 still has the highest opening.
Yeah, understandably. I mean, that's the one on the back end of Paul Walker's passing, and it had the huge song of memorial for him. So that's a huge people tearing up in the theater for that one.
Right. And then it is interesting. Once you have that one, then it really goes 8, 6, 5, 4, 9, but pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Hobbs and Shaw, 2, 1, and Tokyo Drift. So
yeah,
the
Tokyo
movies,
Drift's the lowest one, yeah.
This might be one of the only franchises where each movie outside of The Outlier,
because of the world, yeah,
grosses, well, the two outliers, I guess, because Paul Walker,
yes,
goes bigger.
It's going up. The audience for so the thing is, especially for those first couple, they weren't worldwide like phenomena. Those first 4 were super small. Tokyo Drift did not, even though it seemed like it should, did not do well anywhere. But until 5 happened, 5 was the one that like the worldwide box office started growing, and then subsequently it's gotten bigger. It's gained more people each time. So now it's just sort of this big snowball that's just rolling downhill and just collecting money as it goes along.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not that crazy. Like we've talked about why these connect. We talk about why we keep going. So I
mean,
guess really, if we're being cynical, there is not really cynicism to this one. If
no,
to answer our own thesis, the answer is people will keep watching your
they're
movie
eating this
about
stuff up.
family.
Yeah, they're eating this stuff up. And we have there's a animated series currently going with Spy Racers right now. We got the stuff that's a Universal with the Fast and the Furious, like part of the ride. Like this is a thing. I know people like to poo-poo on this, like, you guys are watching those stupid series, and the same people who do that to a lesser extent because they're so global, but who point at the Marvel folks. There are a group of folks who point at the Fast and the Furious folks, like, you like that dumb stuff. That's so stupid. But hey, clearly by these numbers and what this franchise is doing, there are people who will eat this up and enjoy every single minute.
Yeah, unless you've watched every single A24 film, which you haven't, you don't get to make fun of the people watching mainstream stuff.
Correct.
Unless you can tell me what Under the Silver Lake means, which email me if you have those answers. I don't want to hear you shit talk watching these movies.
Yeah.
So you go watch Under the Silver Lake and you decode it for me, not unlike A Christmas Story. And you bring me those answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the series is great. It keeps growing. I'm not tired of it. I keep getting
I'm not
excited.
like when the next one pops up and they're like, hey, we're doing the next one. And my understanding is because of the way that the world was, the next one should be next year. Like I think they start filming because this was supposed to come out last year. I believe they start filming this year, and this has a release date of next summer. So if it holds that release date and it still happens, great. Don't stop. I don't know when we'll get another Hobbs and Shaw because The Rock is a hardworking man, but if you give me 10 now, I'll take it.
I absolutely would take it. And you can take that to the bank right after you leave us a review on iTunes, leave us a comment on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast and the show. You can follow myself at As Always Blake and Terrence at Terrence Tatum and the show at Hollywood ADI. We, of course, have other shows within the Hollywood RD bracket, the Marvel Pair Up, where we take each Disney Plus show and pair it up with the movie and its genre. And you can't do that anymore, this seasonal podcast that takes movies and posits whether or not they can be done in 2021. We will see everybody next week for the Forever Purge, and then the week after that for Black Widow. And what else is in July?
Well, we're having a good time.
We're back.
Isn't Space Jam in there?
Space Jam.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The Forever Purge, Black Widow, Space Jam 2, Cinderella, Snake Eyes, and the Jungle Cruise.
We're in it.
Shape it up for next month. We're done. Great. We will see everybody next week.
Later.